Thanks, Russ. Thank you to the organizers for having us here today. I'm with Biotech Canada. For those of you who don't know Biotech Canada, we're just an industry association as well, but we represent about 260 companies in the broad spectrum of biotechnology. And the question was, what keeps our members awake at night? Well, a couple of things, if we can get this to work. Or maybe it doesn't work.
Did I break it? It's the green button.
Yeah. Use the green button to move it up forward. There we go. Counting sheep. Counting sheep falling off cliffs or making the jump for it. Tends to be a bit of a challenge, and there's a couple of things in the world of biotech. There are three pillars that we talk about that are fundamental in terms of biotechnology, and that's a broad definition. We're not just talking biologics, we're talking small molecules. Talking to grow a company out there. The first one is intellectual property. So I'll give you a test question here. What's the chance of getting a product through clinical trials? I don't know if the interactive system's working. There we go. Okay. Well, the answer is, coming out of a study that our sister organization Bio in the States did along with Biomed Tracker, took a look at over the last 10 years in terms of products and their success rate. And really the number's around 9%. For all indications in the latest data. If you look at lead indications, Tufts has done a couple of studies that was putting it around 19%. Secondary indications, not quite as successful. That's something that keeps companies thinking about it and keeping them awake at night. Success rate depends on the phase of trial. We've all heard of phase 3 trial failures and the catastrophic effect that typically has on a company's well-being. But it's phase 2 where we're seeing even lower successes, which is interesting. So let me ask you a related question. And when you take a look at not just those, which disease areas do you think are more successful or others? Which one shows the highest success rate, do you think, out of these 5? Interesting. It's actually not quite that. It's actually infectious disease. Oncology actually has the poorest performance. Which is fascinating. You think about the breadth of oncology research that's going on out there. The success rate of bringing an oncology product to market is tougher than any of the others. So the second pillar of challenge for biotech is money. Ask any CEO in terms of what his or her top challenges are. The top 3, it's always financing, financing, and financing. So how much money does the system in Canada require? What are your thoughts on this one in terms of how much money investment do we need each year for Canadian biotech in the health side? Oh, you guys have been reading our press releases. Good. Yeah, it's $1 billion. Probably about $1.5 billion every year in terms of investment to come into Canadian biotech for sustainability, to take those trials, to do that work out there. And it's been a challenge. It's when you saw the venture capital market implode during the recession, you saw a lot of CEOs start to take the jump. What we see as the top, this is a slide from a recent PwC forecast of a view of CEOs and top executives in the biotech industry. What do they need? It's access to capital financing or strategic partners. We're seeing a big switch in terms of where they're looking for the money. It's not always been VCs, well, they're disappearing, but it's also how do you find partners, how do you do licensing, how do you do mergers? And then the amounts are actually going up as well. What we're seeing is our Canadian companies, those pre-commercial ones, are becoming more established, they're becoming larger, and they're looking for their next tranche of funding in that area. And as I said, strategic partners are top. So for the large multinationals that are looking for assets, you have a lot of Canadian companies in the space that are looking to partner those out. So companies sometimes feel like they're all alone, sitting out there on the edge of the cliff, but it's not so bad. What we're seeing is venture capital is starting to come back. We're seeing venture capital investments from abroad, but in Canada, actually in the last couple of years, post-recession, the numbers are starting to look better. And we're actually even seeing this. This is a Globe headline from 2 days ago, which talks about it's the right time to invest in biotech funds. And in fact, if you would have put $1 in 2009 on the TSX composite, you would have made about 45% on your return today. If you would have put $1 in a biotech composite, the Canadian biotech composite, top 25, you would have made 60% today. There is times, and we're seeing some successful M&A activities. Things are turning around as much as financing is a top challenge for folks. We're starting to see great deals, and I see BioVale Valiant at the top. We see another Valiant announcement last night about a $5.7 billion bid for Cephalon. we're seeing encouraging signs in terms of Canada's biotech deals continuing to move along. So the last one, and I'll close at this point, in terms of the third pillar, is always market. So you have your product, you finance it, and the question is, in Canada, can you bring it to market? Russ highlighted a number of the questions. I'll close with one test for you. So what's the chance of a positive CDR opinion on a first entry unmet need product?
Me and me mama, me dad and me grand went off to war.
Yeah, that's kind of spread out. It's actually 6%. The 6% is what the number is. It's been 0 for the longest time. It's kind of perplexing when you think about the focus and the attention of a lot of research today is to go into specialty products, very niche, dealing with unmet needs. You'd expect a system in Canada to expedite the adoption of those products, and yet quite the opposite is happening. It's a frustration. When you think about last year, the FDA approved 21 new chemical entities. 6 of those were for orphan products, orphan product indications. And yet, you're not going to see a market in Canada. Globally, companies, when they develop, they look to the global market, but we do have a risk in Canada of slipping far behind. And so I'll close at that point as the last thing that's sort of keeping everyone awake at night. Thanks. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Goodman.